And welcome to another episode of Smokey and the One-Armed Bandit. In today's episode, we're going to be focusing on the rear end of the car, in particular building a bash bar. Your mate Tate has a tendency to hit other cars, walls, tyre stacks, pretty much anything else that's out on track. So we need to make sure that it's strong enough so when I do hit those things, it doesn't bend the car up too bad and mess up the nice E46 rear sheet metal. So that's what's on the cards today. Got some stuff over here behind my hand that we're going to take a look at first up. Actually, before we take a look at that stuff, might just quickly mention, obviously need to balance up weight of the car when it comes to this sort of stuff. You can make a brick shit out of a car that weighs 4 tonne, or you can make a super light car that you breathe on it and it falls apart because it's not strong enough. So need to have a nice medium there. Probably going to err a little on the side of being a little too heavy, but having the car a bit stronger, just because I don't really have the money to go and fix it up every time I graze it or do an event. So we're going to keep that in mind, try and make it as light as possible, but probably a little on the stronger side so we don't have to keep kicking out the rear guards like I've had to with the crushed up Coke can that is the 180SX rear fenders. So here's the first piece of the puzzle. This is a basic X brace that's going to sit in the back of the car. This is going to provide structure to the bash bar and make sure that it's nice and strong. We want to make sure that even near the wheel arches is strong, so we needed to have this sort of bash bar. A lot of people just mount them to the standard fixings for the rear bumpers, but I don't think that's really the strongest way of doing it. So we're using a setup like this. Down here we've got these plates. This is where it actually bolts in at the back, and this just used the standard mountings for the rear bumper, but on the inside of the car. The bottom of this tube is hollow. It's a bit hard to see. But what's going to happen is we're actually going to slide the rear bash bar inside that tube there to give it the strength, and that should work well. At the top here we've welded on a boss that's got a capsulated nut, and that is going to bolt into the car. Well, as great as the brace looks on the bench, I might go bolt it into the car now and show you how it all fits in. So the brace is all bolted in the car now. Take a look at the front mounts first. Dad's welded in these brackets that will allow us to bolt the brace in. Basically you get a bolt through from the cabin side that comes and bolts into the boss in the brace that we took a look at a moment ago. So that's the left side. There's the right side. And if we have a look at the rear mounts for the brace, you can see that we're using the studs that come through from the bumper when you put the bumper in. And we've just basically used the bracket, or created a bracket from that up to the brace. Then you can also probably see that we've used a hole saw and hole sawed out around the tube there at the end of the brace. That's so we can actually slide in the rear bash bar into the brace. We've also got, if you have a look over here, we're going to got another hole to drill out there, and we're going to put a brace for the outer wings that come from the X brace in the middle of the car. And that's going to make sure that any hits out here don't actually bend in the rear bash bar. So that's all looking pretty good. So now we've got our mountings in the back of the car using that X piece that I showed you before. We need to build the external part of the bash bar. So we've got this bit of seamless pipe, and it's contoured to be the rear quarter of the car. What we're going to do is we've got 2 of those. We're going to bend them slightly along the back of the car so they contour it perfectly. Weld them together, and probably also put like a jacking point off the rear bash bar so that we can jack the car up nice and easy at events. We can already see down here I've got the plastic rear bumper and channeled it out. This bumper is going to sit over the top of the bash bar. It'll mean that it's nice and covered. It won't look anything but factory, but the second you hit it, you're going to be hitting this metal bash bar rather than the sheet metal of the car.
Throw your hands up and fill the next cup. Let's get this started again. Wake up, rub the ice, another new day and it's no surprise. I lost my phone, my keys, my car, I left my wallet at the bar. Tie shoes, swig some booze, another new day, got nothing to lose. I can't remember her name, I think this show's all to blame. If it's only gonna be for tonight, let's set this party right. So throw your hands up.
Took a bit of time with the pipe bender, but we've got the outside profile of this bash bar pretty good now. Lines up and follows the profile of the car pretty well. Also fits inside the channels that we've cut out inside the rear bumper, the plastic bumper. So all pretty happy with that. Took about 6 bends, I think, along this one piece here to get it to follow the profile of the car. Obviously we made this out of 2 pieces, so we've got a piece in here that we've used to sleeve it to make sure it's still plenty strong when we weld it back together. Well, in typical Tate fashion, I got a bit distracted and forgot to do a bunch of filming, but as you can see behind me, I got a bash bar on the car now, so I'll jump down to the car and show you guys what we got up to. So here she is. As you probably saw from that montage video, this outer bar is actually made out of 2 pieces, and then it's sleeved in the middle, just here, and welded together. So also got the jacking point there. I got sick of having to get on my hands and knees all the time to get the jack underneath the rear diff. So nice jacking point there, make changing tyres nice and easy. On the outside here, the bar goes most of the way to the wheel arch. So if I get a hit out in this general area, should be nice and well protected. Protect that nice sheet metal. Pretty much every corner of this bash bar actually sleeves inside the X-brace that we built. So this part here sleeves inside that there. Same on this side. And then again, same from these rear points here. They both sleeve inside the X-brace. So that's going to be nice and strong. I think if I did hit something hard enough, it would probably bend this bar here. However, on the outside here, we have actually had to bolt on that inner part that then goes inside the X-brace. That's simply because you can't have 2 sleeved bits pointing towards each other from one piece of metal and actually get them to slide into each other. So we've had to bolt that part there, but it should still be plenty strong. Finally, I'm going to put this rear bar on, show you how we hide away all the good work that we've done. So as you can see, the bash bar is pretty well hidden by the stock bar that goes over the top. It all looks pretty factory. I think you could drive it on the street and no one would ever know. There will be a couple of little signs to the fact that this isn't quite the normal rear bumper setup for an E46. Doesn't have it at the moment, but we will have bolts that go through here that bolt these outer wings to the bash bar to make sure that they don't flap around. And the other little thing that if you've got an eye for detail you might notice is the bottom of the jacking point there. But otherwise, all looks factory, all looks nice and neat, and you'd never know unless I hit something. So there is a little bit of give left in this bumper too, because the actual outer part here is still about this much is still the standard plastic rear bumper insert. And then in these corners out here, there's also pretty much nothing but the plastic in this corner up to about here. So if I was to run a wall and tap it, it won't have the instant push that a full-on bash bar would, because it'll have a little bit of give from the plastic bumper there. So that's what we wanted to have, just that little bit of give, so if I'm running a wall and tap it, it doesn't instantly try and face the car towards the wall. Overall, really happy with it. Obviously not going to be the lightest thing in the world, but I think we found a pretty good medium. I'm pretty happy with the strength that we've got for the offset of the weight, and yeah, if you had a rear radiator or something back here, then you probably have just as much weight as we have with this bash bar. So it is what it is. It's a good compromise for what we're going for. Protect these nice sheet metal on the outside of the car. So that's a wrap on today's episode. It might not come through the video so much, but there's been a lot of hours put into the thought process behind this rear bash bar setup, and even more hours put into the fabrication, seeing as it's all hand built. But we got there in the end. I'm really happy with the result. It's going to be nice and strong in all the points that we want it to be, but we've left those outer corners of the car a little bit soft, so if I do run a wall, it's going to be pliable and not try and launch the front of the car into the wall that I'm running. So that works really well with me. I think we also did pretty well on the weight versus strength side of things. The next episode, we're probably going to focus on the fuel system. These things have a tank that's in the middle of the car, which adds a whole bunch more complexity to a fuel system. So see you guys on the next episode of Smoking the One-Armed Bandit.